Hey, everybody. Welcome to Fangirl Friday Live. It's another edition. It is Fangirl Friday. Welcome to John Sepenuk from Cryptozoic. My name's Anita Castellar. I am the head of Fangirl Consulting and Brand Management. So I am the fangirl behind Fangirl Live. So I'd love to bring in John now. We're going to have a great conversation this week around Cryptozoic, his journey in fandom, and probably a bunch of other things that we haven't scripted. So welcome, John. How are you?
Hi there. Hi, Anita. How are you?
I'm good. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey through fandom and what are some of the things that you love?
Well, let me just start by talking about where I'm from. I'm from Portland, Oregon, born and raised, where I started, I suppose, my fandom with Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope,
Mm-hmm.
and at the Westgate Theater in Beaverton, Oregon, where which was the theater that ran Star Wars for the longest run of any other theater in the world. I think it was over a year running
Wow.
running fresh. And in that year, I believe my younger brother Pete and I saw it no less than 23 times or something crazy.
Wow. That's crazy. Well,
What do you
considering
want
that
to
the
do?
40th anniversary of Empire was yesterday, that's pretty
Yeah,
iconic.
yeah. Um, Maybe now is a good time to jump into the story of the Blade. My brother and I skipped school on what was it? Yeah, May 25th, 1983, to go see
Oh,
Return of
wow.
the Jedi with our good friend Brian Montgomery. And Brian Montgomery now works for a knife company. And when The Force Awakens came out in 15, he had these engraved sent to me and my brother, and he came down with from Portland to LA to see it at the Man's Chinese Theater with
Oh my
all of
gosh.
us and our sons.
That is so
Um,
much fun.
I did sort of cut myself on this thing. It's razor sharp.
Well, it is a knife. I mean,
It is indeed
it's
at
made for
100
cutting
at the
things.
back. I think Rambo would have been a better than maybe Star Wars, but hey,
Are you
it's
a Rambo fan?
I actually was a big Rambo fan. I have not. I queued up the most recent one just the other day, but didn't actually get into it. Too many
Is it
options these
good
days.
or
So
no?
I queued it up. It's
Uh,
ready to go. It's on the list.
oh my God,
Uh,
my list is so big.
yeah,
It's like
it's
I
deep.
can't get into anything one thing. It keeps jumping back and forth.
Not enough hours in the day.
Yeah.
It's ADD.
So
Uh,
what else are you like a fan of?
Um, well, boy, I think that's an interesting sort of weaving into career fan discussion. I
Hmm.
mean, I've been a big in Portland has one professional sports team, and that's the Trailblazers. And my dad got season tickets to the Blazers uh, in '76. The first year that he got season tickets, they won the world championship with Bill Walton,
Oh, wow.
who is a big Grateful Dead head, as am I. Um, and that I didn't know that at the time, but fast forward to my career at Upper Deck, where we had an exclusive relationship with Michael Jordan, as you can see in the background there.
Yeah.
And part of one of the perks of working for Upper Deck was that they had two slots every year at the Michael Jordan Fantasy Basketball Camp in Las Vegas, which normally costs $20,000 for three
Wow.
days at the Mirage with 100 campers, 98 of whom had enough scratch to throw down 20 grand. Two of us were on scholarship. And there was basically 100 campers, 10 teams of 10, two coaches per team. And on the day of warm-ups and drills, Bill Walton was standing there with a clipboard. And I just went right up to him. I said, Bill, John Sepenuk, Portland native, San Diego resident, longtime deadhead. And he said, you're going to be on my team. I got to pick a couple of fandom boxes there between, and I see him at dead shows frequently now in the summer times, and he stands out in the crowd to say the least.
Nice.
Yeah, and so yeah, I've had some discussions with Warner Music and other entities that represent the band about doing some product related stuff with them, but haven't. I've yet. I don't want to let the fandom overtake my business sense. I want to make sure it's the right opportunity and not just do
Ugh.
things for my own vanity. But what
It's
I would,
hard to turn that on and off
yeah,
sometimes.
it is indeed. Um, And so, so I mentioned Upper Deck. Upper Deck recruited me out of business school, Thunderbird, the American Graduate School for
Mm.
International Management, based outside of Phoenix, where I was focused on. Thunderbird is an interesting program. They have a language and sort of a focus by region. So I spoke fluent Japanese going
Oh,
into it,
wow.
but I really wanted to focus on Mandarin as Japan's economy was kind of going like this and China's was rising, and so I did. And coming out of there, I was recruited by Upper Deck to help manage their Asian business, which at the time was booming due to their relationship with Bondi, which was a 50% stakeholder in Upper Deck,
Okay.
and some product focused stuff with like baseball, for instance. Nomo had just come to the Dodgers. This was a tremendous amount of fan interest from the Japanese community about U.S. baseball and collecting Nomo cards. And then Michael Jordan's rise globally, not in no small part in Asia. So really
Yeah.
leveraging those two facts to help grow their business in Asia. And then over time, the whole sports card collecting phenomenon amongst American youth, anyway, sort of morphed from sports cards into Pokemon cards. That was 20
Mm.
some years ago, for the advent of Pokemon, which took the world by storm. And I can't say
Still is.
yeah, yeah. Um, and I actually, so over a period of about a dozen years, I actually came and left Upper Deck 3 times. I was fired twice
Wow.
and quit the last time.
I think we need a different call for the
Yeah,
fire twice part.
another day. Um, but each time I came back, it was a new and interesting set of circumstances. But the first time I left, it was when the Pokemon boom came on, and I basically took all the contacts that I'd made in Japan and the U.S. in that collectibles trading card business and began importing Japanese Pokemon and distributing in the U.S. and exporting U.S. sports cards and Magic the Gathering cards to Japan. And I was able to save up enough money to build a summer home in Brazil, where my wife is from, which I call the Pikachu house, because
Nice.
you helped me build that house.
You should
Yeah,
have right at the statue at the front entrance.
indeed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am a fan of Pikachu, if not for any but financial reasons.
Mm-hmm.
He's been
Mm-hmm.
very good to me. Um, Fast forwarding through, yeah. Yeah. Again, basketball, huge sports fan. Upper Deck was just a dream come true. When they were talking to me about bringing me on board, they said, you're going to go to the NBA All-Star game and the Super Bowl, and you're going to meet Michael Jordan. And I really wanted to be more China focused than Japan
Mm-hmm.
focused, but since the real business was in Japan, I figured for all that stuff, I could put China on the back burner for a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and enjoy really just the perks of being in the
Yeah.
business that I love. Unfortunately, what kind of came out of it was uh, loss of real passion for professional sports. I mean, of all of the four major sports, NBA is still my favorite, but it's not what it used to be. Can't watch pro football anymore. I can only watch college football and
So you feel
baseball.
like working in it like spoiled it for you?
A little bit, yeah. And not that I mean, I had really great interactions with players, with teams. I mean, I met Kevin Garnett had come over to
Mm-hmm.
Tokyo for the opening games. It was the Timberwolves versus, I think it was the Grizzlies. And I was his translator on a Japanese variety show. And
That's another Zoom call.
I'll tell you. And when I first met him, like in the green room prior to going on, I said, "Hey, I'm John Sepenuk. I work for Upper Deck." He's, "You work for Upper Deck, man? That is so cool. What's it like there?" And I'm like, and this was so genuine. And
Wow.
he came out of high school, right? He's an 18-year-old kid, and I'm
Right.
like, "It's all right. Like, what's it like being the highest paid athlete on the planet?" Which he was at the time. He just signed the largest professional sports deal in
Wow.
history. Um, so yeah, but I didn't have any like real like asshole encounters with athletes that turned me off to the game, but for some
Right.
reason, just the passion isn't there like it
It's
was
just
once.
hard, like when you get to see how everything happens in the background, sometimes it's hard to keep your own fan spirit alive because of the
Yeah,
business piece of it, right?
yeah.
Where we
Well,
have targets and financials and different
right.
things that
Yeah,
corporate, needs.
yeah.
So
In fact, my dad, who's 87, like his fandom has like only multiplied over the years, and but he often poses questions like, "Why do I care? Why does anybody care? Why do our lives depend on whether this team from our
Mm-hmm.
city wins and how
Oh, are
we
you
get
kidding me?
yeah
Hello, this is my
yeah
Eagles cup.
yeah." It actually got lost in your Japanese background.
Oh my,
Is it green? It's
yes.
on the green screen. Yeah, Eagles is the wrong team to be a fan of when you've got a
Nah.
green screen behind you.
Yeah. It's actually my virtual background. We got to
Yeah,
work
yeah,
with these backgrounds here. But
right.
yes, it's a
Yeah,
little bit difficult.
yeah.
But
Green is the wrong color.
well,
Um,
your father actually raises an interesting question is like, why do we care, period? Right? Like, why do the
yeah,
fans care? Why do we care? Why do we work in what we do? And then why do they buy the stuff that we work on? I mean, I'm happy, don't get me wrong, and I'm
sure,
grateful,
sure.
but I'm also, that's the center core of why, in one way, why I actually started these live streams, because I
Yeah,
get those questions a lot. Like, how do you do the business? Or how do they interact with you? Or why do they go to these fan conventions and,
right.
gather? And
And
there's a lot of questions there.
right. And at what point does a brand IP of which sort of where is the tipping point from just being a fan to becoming a lifestyle brand where you want to represent that brand to the outside world and show your allegiance or fandom?
Yeah.
And that's really where the business comes into it all. And it usually starts with apparel, a T-shirt at Hot Topic, and grows from there.
Yeah, it's true. It really is so true. And one of the things that keeps coming up is a common theme in the various live streams is that, people want to be part of a community. People want to not only express themselves, but they also want to signal to the world, kind of like, this is my thing, right? And this represents me. And then if you're part of that, if you like that, then you'll be attracted and we'll connect somehow. There's
Yeah,
a mental connection
absolutely.
there.
Yeah, and I think our motto at Cryptozoic and has been since day one is fans first, and that
Mm-hmm.
really came from two different directions. One is that we want to treat our customers, our fans, for like they're the most important thing to us. But on the other side, fans first means that we, the folks at Cryptozoic, have to be fans of the property first before we'll even choose to get into a licensing deal or push forward with the initiatives, because if there's no passion behind it, it's hard to put your best foot forward. It's all
Well,
about
it's
the
it's
dollars.
exactly, and
It's
that was what I
not,
was going to
not
say.
label slapping. It's top down design and creating an experience that people who understand the brand and want to emulate that can associate and
Yeah,
connect.
and it's the difference between just doing a deal and being part of managing the brand and caretaking the brand, and
Right.
expressing it to its best potential. Whether you're on the side of pushing out the brand, you're the IP owner or work for that company, or if you're on the factory side, or the manufacturer, the licensee,
Right.
the designs and such have to reflect in the end whoever the consumer is. Like in the end, the end consumer has to be able to resonate with that product in order to then want to bring it home. And if you're not expressing it properly, like you said, label slapping or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
then it feels inauthentic and
You'll get called out
disrespectful.
for sure, for sure. And I would say of the entire organization, full disclosure, I'm probably the least passionate about most of the brands that we do in the entire organization, which I'd like to think gives me a bit of a better perspective. I can see the forest for the trees, and I don't get caught up too much in the fandom side in terms of making business decisions that might be colored by just my own personal desire to
Right.
see something happen. Like I think the Grateful Dead is a good example. Like I would love nothing more than to get in deep with the folks in licensing about doing a trading card set of their whole
Shout
history.
out to the Grateful Dead if they're watching.
Yeah, right. Or Bill Walton. Hey, Bill.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to check myself and making sure that I'm not just being too much of a fanboy, and I'm keeping an eye on the bottom line. But someday that will happen, whether it's because we have the luxury to do it or it's really the right time. Uh,
Right.
but
So where does a lot of your product live? Like Cryptozoic designs a product, they gather a license. Where in the end does it go?
Yeah, so we're really sort of divided relatively evenly between, we like to call it the four legs of the table. And on the physical side of the merchandise, we've got tabletop board games, entertainment-based collectible trading cards, and then vinyl and polyresin figurines. And then on the fourth leg is our digital side of the business, which includes both gaming and collectibles, vis-a-vis our partnership with Quid, the mobile app for just sort of like the iTunes of collectibles, an open marketplace to buy and sell, trade stickers, trading cards, 3D figurines, and whatnot.
Yeah, that's a whole new area, right? Digital collectibles is a whole different.
Completely. It's, I mean, again, another day for discussion. But
you might be making a lot of appearances back.
Right. The fact that people are willing to spend $800 or more on a digital JPEG is mind-boggling. But with the advent of cryptocurrency and whatnot, and being able to truly own that piece, that's becoming more and more of a thing, that it becomes a little more secure and believable. It's really something that you own and not a licensed piece of bits and bytes. So as far as, we started, going back a little bit from the history of Cryptozoic, way back when I was at Upper Deck and I was interviewing my current partner, Corey Jones, for a product management position within the organization, focusing mostly on trading card games, because we were doing the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game globally with Konami at the time. Corey had mentioned that he lived in Orange County, but Upper Deck was in San Diego County, commuting town. He said that he's got these friends at this company in Orange County called Blizzard, and Blizzard has this game that's going to be coming out. It's an MMO called World of Warcraft.
And my gosh!
It'd be cool if you guys made a TCG based off of World of Warcraft.
There's a lot of letters.
Scratch off codes that you can redeem online for these unique upgrades within the game. And I didn't have a clue what he was talking about, but we hired him anyway. And sure enough, he called his friends up in Orange County at Blizzard, and he got Upper Deck the license to do the WoW TCG game. And before it even launched, Blizzard had then hired Corey to manage all of their business development and outbound licensing. So I was then working with him across the table for years while we were managing that business and others. Corey and I also had produced an animated series with Sony Music in Japan, trying to replicate that success of Yu-Gi-Oh! In a similar type of vein, but being on the IP side as opposed to just the distribution side. Fast forward to Upper Deck getting caught for counterfeiting Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards and having their license terminated by Konami, and eventually, it was not a pretty scene. So I walked out the door to save face with the Japanese consortium that I had helped build globally with this thing, and Corey masterminded a deal with his bosses at Blizzard to spin out of Blizzard, create a new entity that would help keep the World of Warcraft trading card game going for the fans that were playing the game. And this was a fan servicing decision on the part of Blizzard, and not really a bottom line oriented decision. Blizzard is all about fans first. Everybody has a voice, and they are,
we should bring them in for that. We should do that with Blizzard soon. But that fan first. That's be amazing.
They're the most successful video game company on the planet for a reason. They're hyper focused on their fans, and they won't think twice about just killing a game they've sunk 9 figures into if they don't feel it's right. And they'll bake it until it is. But they're also a bit of a challenging partner to work with at times. So that's how Cryptozoic got to start. Blizzard loaned us the money. We hired all of the Upper Deck staff, moved them up the road from Carlsbad to Irvine, and got going. From there, the first 12 months of contractually, we were contractually obligated to be focused exclusively on the World of Warcraft trading card game. And then once those cuffs were off, we branched out into what interested at the time seemed hot, whatever we were fans of. The first license we got was The Walking Dead, I believe. If we were, it was before a single episode had aired. If we weren't the first licensee, we were probably the second. And I remember when I was looking at it, like the MG, I believe was $40,000. I was like, oh my gosh, 40! How are we going to do this? You guys, are you sure about this? I had no idea what The Walking Dead was.
Right.
Honestly, but all my partners knew the comics. Said, yeah, this should be good. And with our first release of the first trading card product, I mean, we blew out that guarantee in a heartbeat.
Crazy.
We did tabletop board games and collectible trading cards for The Walking Dead for years, and it was a wonderful ride. We got access to all kinds of props and wardrobe that we were able to. We got Daryl's arrows that he was shooting and pieces, bullet casings, zombie wardrobe, all swatches cut up and affixed to cards, signatures from the whole cast, hand-drawn sketch cards. It was really a phenomenon. I was even interviewed on ESPN.com about the trading card secondary market values and how they were rivaling secondary market values for sports cards at the time, and how the sports card hobby had really been paying attention to what's going on with Walking Dead, if nothing else, just as an investment vehicle, which is where a lot of speculation comes from in the trading card biz. So anyway, rewinding back to tabletop gaming and where do we live? Really, the core, the heartbeat of tabletop gaming in the U.S. and really globally is your friendly neighborhood game store, and there's a network of a couple, maybe 3,000 stores throughout the U.S. anyway, largely independently owned and largely fan driven. Like, these people are gamers, and this is a vehicle to supply their habit.
Basically.
So, no one's in it to get rich. They're just passionate about gaming and sharing their love of gaming with others who share that same passion. And a lot of it takes place inside of the store. I mean, Friday Night Magic, which is a global phenomenon where around the world people go into their local game store and play Magic the Gathering across the table from friends or new people they're meeting.
You think that network is growing or shrinking or staying the same?
Magic as a brand has been growing at an absurd clip for the last decade or more. And that has, so if you look at the numbers that have been coming out for the tabletop hobby gaming business, it's been like 20-25% clip for years. A lot of that is Magic driven. They've also been growing online. You talk about community. The core of any trading card game, in particular, as far as strategy games go, is community. You can have the best game on the planet, but if you don't have somebody to play against, you really don't have a business. Right. And they really have. That niche of TCGs is so. It's massive, but it's controlled. Really, it's Magic, it's Pokemon, and it's Yu-Gi-Oh, and number 4 is a distant fourth. By a decimal point or more. And we were that fourth with the World of Warcraft trading card game for years, which back to the Blizzard story, when Blizzard was about to come out with Hearthstone, basically a digital trading card game that also fed off of the IP and imagery of Warcraft, they did not extend our license beyond that. Which was a very tough blow to us, where we were founded upon that. It was 100% of our revenue year one, and we thought we were up a creek, and we kind of were, but somehow over that time. So after Walking Dead, the next sort of pool we dove into was Warner Brothers, and my ex-partner John Nee, who had founded Wildstorm Comics with Jim Lee down in San Diego, and then sold to Warner Brothers, or DC, part of the DC. Under that umbrella, moved to New York and was the VP of BizDev for DC Comics, focused on the internet side and whatnot. And that's where I met him at, while I was at Upper Deck. We were doing the Batman movie sticker albums or something like that. And we hit it off early. And when I left Upper Deck and he left Warner about the same time, we got into business together. Our old friend Corey Jones at Blizzard.
Common thread.
We were granted a license to do print on demand goods, but like mouse pads, T-shirts, posters, and whatnot, where you can take your character from the armory in World of Warcraft, pose it however you want, whatever weapons you want, and whatnot, and have any number of 2D items.
Wow, that's great.
And sent to you. which helped establish the relationship and the trust with Blizzard, who then, when Corey presented him with this plan to spin out and create Cryptozoic, it was all sort of born there with the three partners.
I think we might have a question. Come close to the microphone.
I'm too close to the microphone?
No. My helper here, we're going to have her come closer to the microphone.
Oh, I see. Sorry.
So I figured to ask, what is a brand that you have worked with that surprised you the most with its reception?
Surprised you the most with its reception?
All right, that's a great question. There's probably a couple. I'll start with the brand surprised me, the brand in and of itself. That is Outlander. We signed a deal to do Outlander trading cards. I don't know, let's call it 5 years ago, perhaps. I'm not sure what season they were in. Maybe they were in season 2 when we signed it. And it took so long through Sony, through the agency, whatever, to get approvals. I mean, literally, we were 2 years into this thing and had not released a product yet. And by that time, I'm like, why are we even doing this license? Right. Like, this is not, like, the target demo for that show is not your typical trading card collector, which is like a middle-aged guy who's, maybe baseball fan.
Sitting across the camera from me.
I resemble that comment. But and then so whatever we did it. We were coming out with our season 1 product, and I was like, this thing is just DOA. Like nobody cares. And sure, so our product manager George Netto at the time was so passionate about entertainment trading cards, period, and really Outlander, that he personally went into every single fan group for Outlander around the world, at least the English-speaking territories, and explained to these people what a trading card is, why you want to collect it, and then turned sort of the alpha of each group into almost like an Avon multi-level marketing distributor, connecting them with our distribution partners. And it went, and this was right around the time where we actually lost the Walking Dead license to the company that rhymes with Schmops. And it ended up becoming our number 1 brand for trading cards. I mean, it is on fire. We just released our high-end product. It's called CZX, and we launched the CZX brand. It's our premium product where packs are retailing for $50 a pack, 5 cards, $50. But you've got guaranteed content in there, whether it's a wardrobe card or a signature card. The value has been there, and
but the Outlander fan base is really loyal, very avid.
They are rabid, and we've gone to events where the cast has shown up, and women will show up in wedding gowns. Literally, it's nuts. But that's the way it is with every fan. I mean, how many wedding gowns do I see from Padme and from Star Wars? And I remember at Star Wars Celebration at one point in Orlando, they had a wedding chapel where you could kind of get married, in wedding chapel. It wasn't real, but nice.
I mean, they get the tattoos and everything.
As your ordained minister.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, but
that's to come.
Maybe a Jedi Temple guard, but
yeah, for sure. So that was the biggest surprise to me, just from a brand standpoint. That didn't seem like a brand that would normally fit. And then from a product standpoint, I would say probably my biggest pleasant surprise was with Adventure Time with Cartoon Network. There's an episode of Adventure Time called Card Wars, and inside of this episode, Finn and Jake are playing a game called Card Wars, which is basically Magic the Gathering-esque in terms of the mechanics and whatnot. And there's they show some card images, they make references to certain cards. And from that single episode with just a few sound bites, we created Card Wars, the game, breaking the fourth wall, sort of. But at this point, like, I think it was maybe season 5, like the brand lifecycle was already like this, and most of the lifestyle stuff was had disappeared,
starting to go out
and whatnot. And again, so I've got this full container load of 20,000 games coming over from China, thinking, we missed the boat on that one. Like, what was I thinking? We're dead. And lo and behold, it was such a massive success that nobody stepped up to at the distribution level, that really the only thing you could find product was at our cryptozoic.com store. I mean,
shout out to cryptozoic.com.
Hello there. There should be a link. We did more sales in that month on our store than we'd probably done in the history of the company combined. Online. It was nuts. I mean, this $20 non-collectible game was going for $80, $100 on eBay and Amazon.
Wow.
It's nuts. And
so what is it? Go ahead.
Years.
Sorry.
We released probably 4 or 5 expansions of that. After that, different versions of the game with different characters and whatnot. So that was also a pleasant surprise.
Sorry, but I just was jumping in there because I was just thinking about how tightly you have been wound with various brands and such. But I feel like the DC brand has been like one that you really play up a lot. And I also want to have you reveal our little fun giveaway that you are so graciously sponsoring.
Absolutely.
So, but talk about your business from DC, and then if you want, whenever you want, sprinkle in your fun.
Yeah, no, that's a good segue into DC. So as I mentioned, my partner John Nee, who was high up at DC, Warner Brothers in general, like across the breadth of the organization from New York to LA. When we went into them to sort of reintroduce ourselves with our crypto, we'd all had varying degrees of relationships with Warner in the past, but coming in as Cryptozoic and talking about where our passions lie and what we wanted to do, having John there was extremely helpful, particularly when it came to the entertainment trading card piece, a category that had been blacklisted by Warner Brothers for years, due in no small part to the bad experience they had with Upper Deck and Space Jam. And the category
industry has a long memory.
Yeah, and I know I'm sure you enjoyed your Topps relationship with Lucasfilm. It was Topps,
first licensee.
Yeah, exactly. And that going back to my fandom, like I never collected sports cards or anything, but I collected. I had blue, I had green, I had every original Star Wars trading card imaginable growing up. But largely, the category is a pain in the ass to license. You need 80 images per set, the approvals, the wardrobe needs, the autographs. Like the amount of work that the licensor has to go through versus
a lot of content.
The actual, whatever the MG is or the royalties, it's often upside down and often needs to be looked at as a fan servicing category for the organization. Yeah. But I don't think there's a better consumer product for getting in touch with your fandom than trading cards. So you can you can touch and feel actual wardrobe or props from the show. You've got autographs from your favorite actors and actresses. So we convinced them that we would make it as impact free, just bandwidth wise, as humanly possible for Warner Brothers as a whole.
Because that can be a full-time product developer's job.
Yeah, and they just opened up the vault to us, really. So we on the TV side, we had The Big Bang Theory was one of the first where we did trading cards and board game. The board game was amazing. So it ended up, unfortunately, becoming The Big Bang Theory Party Game. But it's a really fun game, sort of a guessing game. And we went up to the writer's room in Burbank and played the game with the whole writing staff and Bill Prady, one of the creators. And we got a standing ovation after we were done demoing it with them. They loved it. And at the end, we wanted to call it Bazinga. And Bill Prady was like, we go around and around and legal can say whatever they're going to say, but we're going to just land on Bazinga. So yeah, Bazinga it is. Until Warner Legal actually did get their hands on it and said, no, Bazinga sounds too much like Zynga, the
mobile game.
So for that, we got nixed, and it was good times. Big Bang Theory, Supernatural,
which continues to surprise me as a brand. Like I was in Supernatural deep for a long time.
They've still got their own corner at Hot Topic, or at least they did a few months ago. It's nuts how that brand continues to. a multitude of both trading card and gaming product.
Yeah.
And then at some point, we were interested in maybe getting into the figural, the 3D side of the business, and they were interested in finding a new partner, particularly for their Bombshells line. They had created a series of busts, limited edition polyresin busts that were going for maybe 150 to 250 bucks a pop, and the fans loved the stylization that look so much. They really wanted to see it at a more affordable price point, and it allowed us the opportunity to create 7-inch vinyls of the Bombshells line, and then like 2.5-inch blind reveal in tins that has done tremendously well for us. And so the more we continue to like actually do what we say we're going to do with Warner Brothers, the more they trust us, and the more they open up new areas that we can focus on.
Yeah.
And the next step with them is perhaps something digital, which I'll not get into much detail.
You just leave that there hanging out there. So tell us about the Bombshell aesthetic.
So it came from God, who's the artist? I'm sorry, who created it at Warner. I wish I could come up with a name right now, but we have an artist that we've been working with on the outside for years that is just amazing at nailing this look of the sort of 50s pinup girl style, and
which has been a trend right now, right?
Yeah,
like that whole vintage, you know, cosplaying and all that.
Yeah, and as we like every year, it's like, oh, there can't be another year of Bombshells left in the tank, but fans still clamor for it, so they continue to put out content. As long as they do, we do. But as we're sort of looking for the next iteration of that within DC, sort of like 60s mod now has been coming out. There's a Harley figure in particular that is just exquisite that we're hopefully going to be doing something with shortly, and then extend that across the breadth of the ladies in under the DC universe.
So what's the goodie information that we want to tell people who might be watching?
About anything, or you want to talk about DC?
Or about what we might be giving away?
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, it's Harley. Sorry. Reel me back in. Yeah, it's a Harley Quinn bombshell, which I know you said you posted the image of it.
Yeah, it's on our Instagram. We posted it on Facebook as well.
Yeah, I see it. Yep, there she is. Yeah, she's just waiting inside of our office for an address to be sent to.
So we're going to select someone randomly of the viewers who are following this live stream, which, by the way, again, thank you for being here. And towards the end of this live stream, we'll actually pick a random person and then have you send Cryptozoic a DM, or us, FanGirl, a DM, and with all your details and such, and then we will make sure that you get your Harley Quinn bombshell. So thank you for that. That's really great and fun to reward our fans and our friends and people who, support us in our business and also in our live streaming and just fun projects that we've been doing. So this is a great way to just kind of connect with people and then reward that, right? So that's just the point of the live stream. So, but thank you for that. And then, so back to, moving forward a little bit and then into the fans, which we know are the basis of all of our business. But, you do a lot of business, so at mass, at specialty retail, which is, kind of like the Hot Topics or the Spencers of the world.
Right.
But then, you also go to a lot of fan conventions. So
Indeed.
How are you guys surviving now in the fact that with the COVID world and all of those are getting postponed? How's that affected you?
Well, it's certainly affected us, and as to the extent that we've been able to pivot away from our standard distribution of the brick and mortar, whether it's the locally owned hobby shop or the Hot Topics of the world, and direct to consumer really being all we have left, or for the most part, and whether that's through Amazon or our own direct sales, I would say the first thing that we did of note was our Cryptozoic Con or CryptoCon that we had last month, and that was the planning for that began on the heels of the Emerald City Seattle Comic Con being canceled I believe that was in
March.
Exactly, yeah. March. And we had some exclusives that were destined for that show that we basically repurposed and launched at our con, along with a couple others. And we are fortunate in that we have a fan base that follows us and knows where we're going to be, where products are going to be. And oftentimes, particularly in the case of San Diego Comic-Con, we're pre-selling a good chunk of the exclusives ahead of time to allow people not to have to stress out about standing in line for hours and on the hope that they get a crack at these. Like you can be guaranteed if you buy it online, you just got to go pick it up. So all the exclusives sold out in a heartbeat once we went live.
So for your virtual con.
Yeah. And so we basically, after bringing on the folks that were intimately involved in the creation, the development, and the production of said exclusive with a stream, not too dissimilar from what I'm doing now, then we would go live with the item and people would just go.
Yeah, I tuned in at some points and it was really fun. I felt like it was fun, lighthearted, informative, but interactive. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was a great option.
Yeah, thank you for that. As did I. I mean, I actually learned a lot of stuff that I didn't know.
It's good to know what your employees are doing.
Yeah. Oh, is that how we do that?
Yeah.
I found the most entertaining piece to be my partner, Corey, talking about Epic Spell Wars, the game. And I mean, it is not for children, or put it that way. It is highly inappropriate and deliberately so. And to hear him just deadpan explain how some of these cards came to be with the art and just the verbiage, it's priceless. And that, talking about just art, fans of our IP, and Epic Spell Wars has really stood out amongst everything we've done. We're largely a licensed goods company. Probably 80% plus comes from license, but we've got a few original IPs, and Epic Spell Wars is really the star of them all. And we have recently just inked an option deal to have it shopped for.
Wow, that's great.
More details on that. But yeah, the whole we're excited about the virtual con opportunities. We're sad that Emerald City didn't happen. We're sad San Diego's not going to happen. We're sad Gen Con in August.
That just got announced.
Yeah. They took their sweet time to announce that. I don't know.
Wow. I'm still waiting on Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But again, we are fortunate that we've been around long enough. We don't have to create an audience. We would love to grow it, but people have come to expect certain things from us at certain times of the year, and hopefully we won't disappoint. We've managed to keep production schedules coming out of China relatively on time. And if I don't know what we're going to do exactly during Comic-Con, but we've got CryptoCon 2 coming up.
Tell us those dates.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I know it's in June. You had mentioned before it's in June.
Here. One moment, please. Yeah, so July 11th, 12th for CryptoCon 2. And 3 sometime in August. How about that?
Okay. Perfect.
That's good for us. Usually we announce things by quarter. So the fact we've got actual days on one of them and a month on another is just we're ahead of the game for us.
I think we have another question.
So from Ticket 2 again, what is the major upside to having these virtual cons?
What's the major upside to having a virtual con?
Well, certainly fan engagement is number one, being able to directly speak to our fans and hear them and respond to them and allow them to sort of peek behind the curtains. And I hope that only makes them even greater fans, and maybe helps them share the love with others and bring upon more fans. But clearly from a financial aspect, anything you can sell direct to consumer typically is a higher ring than through your standard wholesale distribution channels and whatnot. But it's funny, the grass is always greener on the other side. There's a lot of companies out there that have been direct to consumer from day one, and that's all they've ever been. Which I look at with great envy and think, oh, if only I had that audience, I could just push a button and automatically everything's sold out direct to consumer.
Right.
Well, we've been approached by more than a few of these companies over the years, and they have a burning desire to have some presence on retail shelf at Walmart, and can we help them accomplish that? And be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
But everyone's always
Complicated.
It always looks better until you get there. So I think we've struck a pretty good balance between the two, and we'll continue to do so. But certainly, by necessity, in these last few months,
Yeah.
all we've really had at our disposal.
So there's two questions in all of that. Number one that I've been thinking about lately, because I've been seeing, it's great that a lot of people are putting on their own virtual cons and taking their destiny in their own hands because they have to, just by necessity. But
Sure.
I'm wondering now if there's going to be a saturation point, right? Where it's like, well, I can't keep up with all of these virtual times, and I have things to do in my daily life where I can't
Sure.
attend them all. Or,
Right.
So that's one. And then the other one is, I'll have to come back to that. So go ahead and answer that, because the second one just flew out of my head.
Yeah, well, as far as saturation goes, I feel like it seems like everything is saturated. There's content in general. There literally are not enough hours in the day for any human being to actually watch everything that's coming out. Forget about anything that came out from yesterday till the beginning of time. Just going forward, I don't think you can keep up with new content and actually sleep and consume everything. So that's probably
there's so many more streaming platforms that keep coming out.
Yeah. Just getting attention and getting noticed, period, is half the battle. And so that's sort of step one. And then how many licensing in general, over licensing, slicensing. Not that you've ever done anything like that in your career.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, right. So we've in terms of just trying to stand out, like trying to pinpoint opportunities where there's a fan base that is maybe not wide, but really passionate and deep, and the things that sort of off the beaten path, and finding the right mix of product and license and target demo. To me, that's sort of where we can be nimble and quick to act that maybe some larger companies don't have that luxury of.
Do you think that here's the second question. So do you think that companies that have had this opportunity to be direct to consumer, whether it's through, mostly through their own website, right? So if you have your own shop and retail has been closed down in these past few months, do you think that those companies have survived at least at a little bit of a better rate than those who haven't, who have been totally dependent upon selling to the mass retailers?
Yeah, I can't really speak to survival rate or any given company's bottom line. I can tell you that what we've been doing, while it's been nice and certainly better than nothing, is not sustainable. It's just not. Even if we'd had a year in advance to plan for this direct consumer only life, maybe, but it came quick and it was a shock. But I think we've adapted as well as could be expected. But don't get me wrong, like we've enjoyed some of our best. We have every month that we've broken a new record in terms of direct to consumer online sales, but that number in and of itself is not enough to sustain us, at least certainly at our pre-COVID headcount levels. And unfortunately, we've had to furlough some folks, and looking forward to hopefully being able to bring them back in the not too distant future. Yeah,
it's the common theme I'm hearing across the board from a lot of people, where at least you can sell some things and potentially keep lights on for the company in general, but it's not something that, like you said, it's sustainable for a long period of time where you can keep your head count together, and it's difficult. It's really difficult for a lot of people in a lot of ways.
Luckily, we do have a foot in the video game interactive side, and that side of the business has enjoyed crazy growth in the period of time, because
nobody's laughing at them now, huh?
Yeah, right.
Those crazy esport people.
Yeah, that's also a business that really doesn't need a rooftop to house their employees. Like, working virtually is not that, you're in a dark room in a corporation building anyway. Might as well be in your own dark in your house with an internet feed. It was pretty seamless. So I guess we're fortunate to be diversified enough to have that foot in that camp, and see where that goes.
Yeah. I think that's so. What about diversification? What's for the future for you, for Cryptozoic? Are you intertwined? Are you separated? You and Cryptozoic?
No, we are one. I am,
Uh-huh.
yeah, Mr. Cryptozoic.
Mr. Crypto.
Going forward, I would like to continue to the relationships that we've enjoyed, particularly with Warner Brothers, continue to mine their IPs for gold. Their library is massive, and they've become, as they've sort of reduced their roster of licensees and thrown more IP per agreement to the licensees they continue to work with.
To go like a little more narrow and deep with each relationship, each licensee.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think there's probably like 125 different IPs on our agreement with them right now. Pretty much everything that they do short of Harry Potter and Seinfeld and Friends. And those may be available, just a little more wrangling, but crazy what they've done in their past. And I think there's, as retro becomes hot and sort of cycle through these things, I think there's years of opportunity to mine there. And then, focusing on our own. So, I mean, the real like enterprise long-term value comes largely from what you own from an IP standpoint. So the more we can do to proliferate Cryptons.com Cryptozoic store, doing some plugs.
I know. I'm like, wait a minute, that's the wrong company.
It's only been a dozen years, and it still comes out. It's crazy. And Epic Spell Works, things of that nature. We're excited what the future holds for Outbound and the TV show. And as far as new opportunities, really looking for those niche things that we've discussed. Mining Kickstarter has been very, very good to us over the years. And we've kind of stepped away from it for a bit, but that's another direct-to-consumer vehicle that really allows fans to be a part of the process. And as you're showing your game or demoing your game over a 20 to 30-day period, people are giving their input, and you can make rule changes on the fly. I mean, tabletop games in particular is the biggest category on Kickstarter, bar none. I should probably announce our upcoming Kickstarter for Steven Universe.
Wow.
And Rebecca Sugar, the creator of the show, has agreed to throw a plug or two out there on our behalf. So that should be exciting. Stay tuned for that.
So when does that kick off? When does the Kickstarter kick off?
We are shooting for July for the launch of the Kickstarter. Yeah.
So would it be on like your social media platforms or on your website?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the game, we've solicited the game itself, so people are aware that the game exists. The Kickstarter campaign has not been announced publicly, and I probably shouldn't have said it, but I already did. So cat's out of the bag.
Fans will be waiting for it, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yes. If
you had one wish, like either a license or a product to make, what would that be?
Wow. So going back through where I have affected that within the organization, my track record is not awesome, I will tell you.
Well, maybe we won't have you make predictions.
Well, yeah, right. So I'll say, one year, so it became a tradition at licensing show based off of the first year we went. It was the last day licensing show. It's just a ghost town, and you're wandering up and down the aisles, and I happened to stroll upon the booth that had Downton Abbey, and Miss Carol Postal. Shout out to Carol. And I personally loved the show. I mean, it's
a great show.
And again, I would not equate the Downton Abbey, fan base demo with a trading card collector.
Yeah.
Apparently, the consumer base didn't equate we ended up selling out of the product. It did fine, but it was not a home run by any stretch. Right. But had we had that sort of initiative that we had with Outlanders, fast forward, 5 or 6 years, and be able to really go in there and mine that, and I think we could have sustained the brand over more seasons than we did. So that became an annual thing, roaming the aisles of licensing.
It's a good tactic.
the next one we did, oh God, I'm losing it. Shoot. Well, what I do remember is it was my childhood neighbor friend happened to be working in the booth where this particular ABC property was being repped, and we did it. And it was a lot of fun, just like reconnecting with her, and our moms were all happy, like, "Oh, that's fun. The kids are
that's so great."
My folks are going to kill me for not coming up with the name of that. I'm sure we'll remember that. And then the following year we did Breaking Bad, which I was a huge fan of, and that actually did do well. And
that's another one with an avid fan base.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to wrap it up soon, but we need to choose a winner. So do we have our name ready? I think while we're getting that information handy, tell us where we can find you, John Sepenuk. Where can we find Cryptozoic? What's your websites, all that stuff?
Right. Yeah. So personally, I am in Huntington Beach, California. Cryptozoic is in
Please don't transmit your address. People will be at your house.
I'll give the latitude and longitude waypoints. You can figure it out there. www.cryptozoic.com. Yeah, I mean, we're well represented on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We have specific sort of breakout groups within Facebook, fans of our Bombshells line, fans of Cryptkins, very active communities there, trading and posting. And one of the favorite fan things to do with Cryptkins, and we sort of started this a while ago, was just posing them in the wild, and people send in pictures of
that's fun.
At the beach, under a waterfall, in the forest, and it's been a real fun.
Kind of like your Pokemon in the wild kind of pictures.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Our Cryptkins will crush those Pokemon in the wild.
Yeah, I'm sure they would.
Yeah.
But where did that come from, Cryptkins, by the way? I was interested to hear that.
It came from an inspiration that one of our product managers had in the past, and it's all sort of public domain IP, and that these are existing mythological beasts that are found throughout the world, from the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, the Yeti, Cthulhu, the New Jersey Devil, which honestly I didn't realize was anything more than
it's actually an urban legend. I'm from Pennsylvania originally, so.
Yeah, I thought just a hockey team made up thing, but it actually did. Who knew? So yeah, it's been fun. It's been a little bit challenging from a story development standpoint. How do all of these mythological beasts that came from varying stories and mythology interact with one another in this tale that we're crafting to bring to the world, and merchandise and whatnot?
That's kind of neat. I love monsters and like the old Universal monsters and stuff. So that's interesting to me. I think we have our winner.
Okay, so our winner is, I believe, TC Kinneberg.
TC Kinneberg. You are the winner.
In North America.
Yeah. Hopefully. Please send us your information. Either, to cover it off, make sure you send it to FanGirl and to Cryptozoic, DM us, and we will make sure that you get your Harley Bombshell figure. So again, thank you, John, for joining me for this. It was really great. Really had a good time with you. Please feel free to come on back, or bring your team, or any other folks.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, you're locked down for sure, so you're not going anywhere. That's right. Thank you for the giveaway, and have a good rest of the day, everybody. Happy FanGirl Friday. Talk to you soon.
Bye. See ya. Bye-bye.